Good afternoon, beautiful people. Today is election day. So we are diving into a big moment in politics, media, culture, and yes, the kind of issues that affect everyday families, small business owners, and ultimately taxpayers. Let's talk about Zohran Mamdani, Trump endorsing Cuomo, and what Cuomo had to say about the endorsement, and what it will mean if Zohran Mamdani wins over Cuomo. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Nelly Miranda.
Election day, almost upon us. We have a brand new poll in the race for New York City mayor, and it's pretty interesting, too. The poll, done by Emerson College and The Hill with Pix 11, tells a very different story than perhaps we've been hearing recently. It shows Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani with a massive lead over independent Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa. And it should be noted that this survey was done prior to tonight's big development with President Trump giving a last-minute endorsement in this race.
As always, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Okay, so as you probably heard, President Trump endorsed Cuomo. Since the race will ultimately be between Cuomo and Mamdani, it seems like the logical thing to do. However, Cuomo did make a point to disassociate himself from Trump, as if Trump just endorsed him for fun, as opposed to being left no choice in trying to save New York from an alleged communist.
Well, yeah, Corey, we are just hours away from the polls opening here in New York City on Election Day, and President Trump posted on social media telling New Yorkers to vote for Andrew Cuomo, a person he's previously referred to as a terrible Democrat. Well, Andrew Cuomo held a late-night news conference here in front of his home in which he distanced himself from Trump again and said that this was not an endorsement.
President Trump doesn't support me. He opposes Mamdani.
Andrew Cuomo reacting late Monday night to President Trump's Truth Social post to New Yorkers. Trump once again calling Mamdani a communist and said he won't release federal funds if Mamdani is mayor. Trump goes on to say a vote for Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani. And he finished with, quote, "Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job."
I agree. A vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani. Curtis Sliwa is not a viable candidate. He cannot win. He is in the race as a spoiler only.
That's right. As you just heard, President Trump is warning that he might withhold federal funds from New York City if Zohran Mamdani wins the mayoral race. The headline reads, "Trump threatens to cut city funding if communist Mamdani wins." Now, from my vantage point, there are several layers here. On one level, this is about leverage. Washington using money and resources as a club. The federal government exists to serve all citizens, not as a partisan instrument to punish cities that vote wrong. On another level, this race isn't just local anymore. It is national ideologically. The question is, if Mamdani were to govern, what radical changes might he push in New York? And if Washington reacts by cutting funds to the very residents this is supposed to help, who ends up paying the price? But here's Zohran Mamdani in his own words about Trump's threat to withhold funding.
At a rally Monday night in Long Island City, Mamdani spoke about the threat to withhold federal funding.
Teaches us all that it's time to actually stand up and name this authoritarian crisis for what it is, and to speak about this funding as not something that Donald Trump is giving us here in New York City. This is something that we are in fact owed in New York City.
Trump, I mean, he's talked about setting the National Guard because he believes the city would be lawless and unsafe under your leadership. But also more concretely, he did it on Truth Social last night as well, beyond the 60 Minutes post, threatening to withhold federal funds. We know he's already slashed the funding for that railway tunnel to New Jersey. What would be the recourse here? We know that any state, any city is dependent, in large part on federal dollars. What would you be able to do at City Hall to combat that?
We have to stop treating everything that Donald Trump says as if it is law just by virtue of the fact that he's saying it. These are threats, many of which go far beyond the actual powers of the presidency. And this is money that New Yorkers are owed. It's not money that we are hoping the president will give us. And we've seen examples across the country where governors mayors, attorney generals have come together to file lawsuits on behalf of the people that they serve. And in California, the attorney general there estimated that for every dollar they put in legal fees, they recovered more than $30,000 in federal funds that would have otherwise been stripped of them. So we're going to use the courts, we're going to use the bully pulpit, we're going to use every tool at our disposal to stand up for the people.
We will use the courts, he said. So it looks like Tish James will have plenty of lawsuits coming up, weaponizing the justice system, but that's not what she's going to say she's going to be doing. Okay, so let's switch gears and go back to Andrew Cuomo. He went on Fox and Friends and had a few things to say about Trump's endorsement, Mamdani's promises, and apologized about the 80,000 deaths during COVID. Take a listen to his response about Trump's endorsement.
Governor, in the last 24 hours, President Trump said, vote for Andrew Cuomo. What does that do for your campaign? What message does that send to Republicans?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's an important message because it's a three-way race. It's myself, the Democratic Socialist, Mamdani, and there's a Republican named Curtis Lewa. And Curtis Lee was a spoiler. There was no chance he can win, but he can make Mamdani a winner. So President Trump saying to the Republicans, don't vote for Sliwa, you're wasting your vote, that could be very helpful. Because if they don't vote for Sliwa, they would vote for me.
What do you say to the Republicans that say Sliwa's probably not going to win if you believe the polls, so I'm just going to stay home? But then Donald Trump comes out and many Republicans live for whatever Donald Trump says. And when he's telling them to go vote for you, maybe they will go out. What's the reason a Republican should get out of bed, should leave their house, should leave the office and go vote for you?
Yeah, well, President Trump is pragmatic. He is telling them the reality of the situation, which is if you do not vote, Mamdani is going to win. Who is Mamdani? I don't know, but he's a Democratic socialist. He'll bring socialism to New York City. New York City will not thrive with a socialist economy, anti-law and order, decriminalize prostitution. So Republicans, you have to get up and come out and vote. Even if you're not voting for a Republican, you're voting to save New York City. You know, this election is not about Democrat, Republican. It's about saving the city. And that is not being overly dramatic. Mamdani is a real socialist. He's not a dress-up socialist.
He calls himself
is
that.
a government controls the means of... Yes. Oh, no, but a radical form of socialism, right? Government should control the means of production. There should be no private ownership of real estate. The NYPD is wicked and corrupt and a threat to public safety. Abolish jails. This is really an extremist philosophy that just won't work for New York City. And that's what a Republican should care about, right?
To some extent, I actually agree. Would Sliwa do a better job than both of them? More likely. But at the end of the day, it's about saving New York City. This city is the financial capital of the world. Everything there cannot just be free. And I'll say this carefully because I don't want it to sound condescending, but if living in New York has become unaffordable, maybe it's time to consider relocating somewhere that fits your budget. I do not think it is fair for everyone else to bear the cost of someone else's situation. But let me shut up. He was then pressed on his handling of the pandemic, and this is what he had to say.
But what do you say to the Republicans that have concerns about how you handled the pandemic, no cash bail, and some of the things that took place in the nursing home as well? Will you apologize to those voters? Because that's something that can change this election. What do you say to those Republicans?
Yeah, well, if you were in New York, we've had that conversation now for 2 years. And look, I was a Democratic governor for 11 years. First of all, as governor, it's different than New York City. New York State is about 50-50 Democratic Republican, right? We've had Republican governors. I had a Republican Senate. So I worked with Republicans all that time as governor. New York City's true blue. The state is mixed. And on the COVID situation, there have been numerous investigations of that. We've gone all through it. We followed all the federal rules. We did nothing wrong. Of course, we lost 80,000 people. The nation lost 1.2 million people. It was horrific. It was horrific. But everyone did the best that they could. And I think people realize that
Why not just
now.
say, I'm sorry, Governor? Why not just tell those victims' families, look, it was a pandemic. We were going through a tough time. I was learning on the job certain things, but I'm sorry you lost your loved one. That would help a lot for a lot of those people.
I have said that numerous times. I have said exactly that. New York had it first and worst. Nobody knew what we were dealing with. I had the best health experts from around the globe giving us advice. We followed the best advice. We followed the federal guidance. And people died in a horrific way. There were no visitors allowed into nursing homes. And I apologize for any family that lost a loved one during that time. It was on my watch. And I understand how terrible it was.
In the end, the narrative around the race is ideological clash, media framing, national consequences, etc. The left is fighting with itself in New York City between a young socialist like Mamdani and the old guard represented by Andrew Cuomo. The question is, what does this mean for the Democratic Party and for the country? I think this race is a microcosm of what's happening nationally. If progressive urbanism triumphs here in New York, with heavy government, high taxes, bold cultural messaging, then expect that playbook to spread across America. And for many Americans, that means more pressure on families, more regulation on businesses, more identity politics in public spaces. It also means that the media will frame any result as change or sound of the future, but we should ask, change for whom? Because real outcomes matter. Are streets safer? Is housing more affordable? Are taxes stable? Because if the answer is no, the spectacle looked nice, but the lived experience didn't improve. And I'll leave you with this clip of Lindy Sarsour. And after today, I hope she really keeps her promise and tells us what she could not tell us before today.
Quiet, because I'm on the quiet side of this race, but I'm going to tell you that once November 4th comes around, I will tell the story. The story is not just that it's random that Zohran ascended to this place. It is our Muslim American communities. And I'll also say that it's Muslim money. The PACs that have supported Zohran, or a particular PAC that has supported Zohran, is probably over 80% of Muslim American donors in this country. High net donors, grassroots donors. And I want to make the point that the Unity and Justice Fund PAC, which is the CARE Super PAC, was the largest institutional donor to the pro-Zohran PAC in New York.
And there you have it, folks. Get out there and vote. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. And tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.